You want it to be withdrawn?
Yes, I want it to be withdrawn because my lawyer says he prefers to do it himself.
That is where we can start from. If we get the document number.
I don't have it with me, so I have to get it.
You don't have the document number?
No. I gave it through Selassie.
Who is Selassie?
He's at Lands Commission.
Sorry, this is Lands Commission. I don't
If you're talking about building skyscrapers, I'll say maybe we haven't got the local capacity, but building houses in rocket science at all, and there's no reason why local developers shouldn't be able to meet the housing needs of Ghana.
Brave words from Edward Afah, MD of Fidelity Bank. But the reality is that rapid population growth and fast increasing urbanization have made housing one of the most critical problems facing Ghana today. Look at Accra, a city of 4 million people that is, quite literally, bursting at the seams.
There is a deficit in every segment of the market. If you take even the high end of the market, you're talking of properties above, say, $300,000 price, whether it's flats or houses. And in Accra, from our own estimates, there are no more than 200 of them delivered per annum. And for a country of 25 million people, expatriates, embassies, that is a drop in the ocean. Then you look further down market at the sort of lower end $50,000 houses, and the numbers are even smaller. So housing delivery is a problem.
Demand for housing far outstrips supply, and its cost as a result has soared. The consequence? Unmanaged and unplanned settlements and massive urban sprawl. Statistics speak for themselves. Residents of Accra spend an average of 1 hour 48 minutes each day commuting to and from their places of work. Veteran developer Togbo Mensah reminisces.
When we were kids, we walked to school because you live in the corner. There's a good school right next door. You don't have to take a bus or a taxi to school. So we all walk to school and walk back. Today, most Ghanaians live in what we call Chirimanko. Drive across the city to drop their children far away before going to work. They get to work at 10 a.m. And by 3 o'clock, you have to rush back to pick the child home. We lose productivity. And that happens all the time.
Edward Afah lays the blame at the doorstep of the authorities.
If you look at the way Accra has developed over the years, it is not by accident that our cities are poorly planned, because we haven't had a plan which has thought through how we develop a central business district, how we manage the issues of traffic, how we build a road network, how we build a transportation system.
Not to mention waste disposal, drainage and sanitation. The strain on city infrastructure is immense, and the strain on people too. Overcrowding, particularly in the lower income group, is rife. And again, look at statistics. 50% of all households live in one room. Nima, in the heart of the city, epitomizes the problem.
This house was built as a flat. We have about 5 bedrooms, 2 halls, and kitchen, and then a bathroom. But because of the scarcity of accommodation, we had to rent it out room by room. Come on.
How many people do you have living there?
Oh, more than about 30 people living in the whole building.
30 people?
Yes. Wow. You can see every little space we have here. People, you have to build somewhere to sleep. Every little space. I mean, it's not palatable for people to live. But since there's nowhere for them to live, they manage into a 2x4 place and then sleep in it. So housing in Nima is very, 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 very acute.
There is a shortage of 1.6 million homes countrywide. And again, we ask the question, can the private sector bridge the gap?
If you go to East Legon and Jowulu and all the airport, which foreigners came to be the foreigners? We built it, right?
Developers vehemently defend their ability to deliver. But let's again look at some facts. Currently, state housing and the private sector combined deliver 25,000 new housing units onto the market each year. That sounds substantial, but do the sums. There is a deficit of 1.6 million houses. In order to address that over the next 10 years, as government says it will, new housing production must increase from 25,000 to 160,000 a year. As a provider of housing, government's ability to deliver is limited. In all the years of its existence, state housing has built just 150,000 housing units in total. That's less than 5% of all houses in Ghana. So yes, the private sector has a critical role to play. But can they do it? And how? Togbo Mensah is clear about the challenges they face.
Land, money, finish. As of people, materials, forget it. Land and money.
Are you in need of credible and relevant business information to make vital decisions? Or do you wish to reach Ghana's upmarket business and consumer segment with your product and services? Subscribe to and advertise in Business and Financial Times today, Africa's leading source of credible and relevant business information. For enquiries, contact 021-785-36627 or visit www.thebftonline.com.
Can a bank really stand for something? Can it balance its ambition with its conscience? As not everything in life that counts can be counted. In the many places we call home, our purpose remains the same: to be here for people, here for progress, here for the long run, here for good.
Serious about internet? Serious about speed? Choose a package that suits you. Get your Mega Data vouchers from iBurst Africa now. Available from only 5 Ghana cedis. Spend more time online with Mega Data and pay less for serious speed. Mega Data vouchers are valid from 1 to 30 days from date of activation, and for vouchers of 35 Ghana cedis and higher, unused data can be carried over to the next month if you top up within the 30-day period. You can switch to the Mega Data fixed package deal if you're already an iBurst Africa customer, or obtain a modem now at a reduced price and benefit from this incredible offer. Mega Data, the package that suits you. Brought to you exclusively by iBurst Africa. The Mega Data vouchers are available from any of our outlets. Serious speed, serious value. iBurst Africa, serious internet.
Timothy Barnes, MD of Lakeside Estate.
Before you are able to get a land free from all encumbrances, free for you to use, if you don't take care, you might be paying about 3 different people, especially with 2 lands.
When Mr. Mensah sells you the land, you go on the land, Mr. Kwe will come and say, this land is right for me. So you have to deal with Mr. Mensah separately and deal with Kwe separately. By the time you finish the court case, a third Mr. Asare say, this land was sold to my grandfather 40 years ago. Here's the document. Which means Mr. Mensah and Mr. Kwe's grandfather or so and so sold it long ago. They didn't know. He didn't tell them. So you're holding a new document, because when the document was being prepared, nobody checked anything. It just published it and nobody reacted, and that's it. So you find, after you finish, and the third person reappears. So you pay for the one land about 3 times, if you're lucky.
The land title problem, we all know, has bedeviled our country for years and years and years. When you buy land in Ghana, you don't even know what you're buying. That is a recipe for disaster.
Real estate consultant Peter Chikata.
You buy a piece of land today, it takes forever to get your land title. Forever. I don't understand why. It's like a deliberate effort by government officials at these departments and divisions to delay the process, frustrate Ghanaians, so that Ghanaians pay them money over and over and over again. How is that?
You don't have to look far for the answer. The administration of land has frustrated development for years, and the buck stops here, at the offices of the Lands Commission. The man in the hot seat is Dr. Damilabi, who says the finger-pointing isn't entirely justified. The issue of land, he says, has been swept under the carpet by governments for years.
For example, at the moment, Ghana is preparing a new development plan called Ghana's Shared Growth and Development Agenda. You take the whole document and you look at it. They've made certain references here and there about the land issue being a development constraint. But as to what to do about land, it's nowhere featured in that document at all. So you ask, where are we really heading towards in terms of policy development so far as our land is concerned?
The neglect runs deep.
Over the years, we have been working in a very manual environment. We are now beginning the process of computerizing our operations to make sure that we move away from the manual environment, which creates a lot of delays, causes a lot of problems with records keeping and sometimes manipulation of the records and mutilation of the records, all those things, all those problems.
Developers complain about inept staff. Dr. Labi says there's little he can do about it.
We've tried several times to even recruit lawyers to come and beef up our legal capacity. We've tried several times. They come, they look at the conditions of engagement, they go, they never come back. And so sometimes it's very frustrating. You see what you want to do, you know what to do, but how to do it becomes a problem.
On the burning issues of land tenure, Dr. Labi says his hands are tied. Outside of Accra and Kumasi, there is no law, he says, that compels people to register their land.
So when you come to the Lands Commission, it is those who have chosen to register their lands that we have records on. If the person hasn't registered his land, we have no information at all on such lands.
And as far as regulating stool lands is concerned, it's the Constitution that stands in his way.
The Constitution says that the management of all stool lands shall be by the appropriate stools in accordance with customary law and usage. So they manage their lands and the Commission records what they grant. So if a chief sells land, another person, either from a different stool or within the same stool, another faction pops up and they also begin to sell the same piece of land, the Lands Commission has no mechanism for stopping that because we don't own the land.
The fact that 80% of land in Ghana is under customary ownership gives some insight into the size of the problem and the challenges that lie ahead.
The time has come for the professionals, you know, in the whole housing development system to come up and speak, because we can't assume that the politicians know what is right. Maybe they mean well, but they may not really know what works and doesn't work.
Asare Kufu is the CEO of HFC Bank, which brings us to the next major challenge facing developers: money.
Banks in this country don't make long-term loans, are not willing to make long-term loans. And real estate loans are usually long-term loans. The real estate developers have nowhere to go.
They take it as a little bit of a risky business. That's how we see it. So it becomes difficult getting finances from our Ghanaian local banks. It becomes difficult. And without the financing, you cannot expand.
Joseph Edu, CEO of DefTraco, picks up the thread.
A lot of banks also raise funding from overseas, and as Ghana is seen as a third world country, developing country, there's inherent political risk that these foreign financial institutions put on funds that are lent to banks in Ghana, and thereby also they like to limit their exposure to the term or the time that they give funding to banks in Ghana so that they can get their money out quickly, reduce their risk.
Peter Chikata has a less stereotypical point of view.
Today, if you look at what is happening in the Western world, in America and in Europe, you could see that those countries are in trouble today. They have a lot of investment funds on the capital market for government to go and borrow. There are a lot of retirement funds that are looking for investment abroad.
If in 2007, government was able to raise $750 million on the London Stock Exchange, and in 2010, $13 billion from the Chinese for energy and roads, why can't they do the same for housing, he asks. No need, says Edward Afa. Local banks can raise the money.
I don't think that funding is an issue, and we will say this over and over and over again. If there is what do banks want? Banks want to back projects where there's a reasonable likelihood that they'll get their money back. If today we had a project which was $500 million, we could raise the money, we could syndicate it. Well, I'm not saying we'll fund all of it ourselves. Ghanaian banks today have significantly more capacity than they did have, say, 10 years ago.
But I also think the banks are not willing to take the risk of giving these funds for scalable projects to developers.
No bank wants to fund a project in which the developer has very little equity in it. And so whatever project you're doing, the bank will probably say, we would like you to put in at least 30% equity. And you have a problem there because most developers haven't got the 30% equity. So if it's a $100 million project and you can't put together $30 million of it as your equity, you can't expect a bank to give you the $100 million.
True, but here again, it's in the financial structuring. Because if you're dealing with a project that's 50 million and therefore you're required to provide some odd so 30%, 15 odd so $1 million, well, you're right. That's a huge amount for Ghanaian developers to come up with. But it's in the structuring of that project whereby if that $50 million project is broken up into 5 phases, correct? Each phase being 10 million, and now finding 30% of 10 million is much easier. That's 3 million. That's much easier for a developer to come up with.
Before you build a properly constructed or planned estate, you need to bring roads. You need to do all this infrastructure. But the infrastructure development takes a chunk of the money.
Elsewhere in the world, the provision of infrastructure like roads, street lighting, water, sewerage, electrification and telephones is the responsibility of local government. Not in Ghana. Government's hands-off approach to housing means that the developers themselves have to bear these costs, pushing up the price of housing. Their fourth major challenge is the high cost of building materials.
In countries like Brazil, in South Africa, they're able to build a house for $20,000. In Ghana, that same house will cost $50,000 because we don't have enough industries in the housing sector who are making many of the components. So if you take a house in Ghana, most of the electrical finishes, most of the tiles, most of the finished products are imported. And if you haven't got an industry for building materials, it makes the finished product very expensive.
Any house that we build, even the one we are sitting here, apart from the sand, the water, and the stone, everything is imported. Why? Why? Meanwhile, in the days of Nkrumah, no. We had a nail factory, roofing factory, factory for glass at the Bosso. We had factory for ceramic at Sopo. We have paint factory. Now we are importing paint from Brazil, from China, nails from Nigeria, nails from Togo, Burkina Faso. How can we be importing nails from Burkina Faso? We are importing doors from Korea. Doors. Meanwhile, the door factories in Kumasi are closing down. No, why?
Developers are expected to deliver affordable housing, but they are facing difficult odds, says Edward Efa.
It is impossible for a developer to buy land sometimes 3 or 4 times from different chiefs, build a road, bring in electricity, bring in water, provide all this infrastructure, build the house, and still sell the house at less than $30,000. It's impossible. Government policy is critical, and there is nowhere in the world where low-cost housing, public sector housing has been provided without a very dynamic government policy which has been implemented over years.
Water from the bosom of nature, the real natural water, undergoes psychology and good filtration. Check the looks and stylish and trendy, fresh and cool, natural water, deep down from the bosom of nature. It's fresh and cool and nice. The real natural water.
Get your refreshment from the real natural mineral water. Safina, the real natural mineral water. Sometimes you turn, twist and struggle to find solutions facing your business, but you'll soon find out that life can be a lot more fun if you find the right bank with a passion for solving financial problems.
Trust in the Trust Bank.
Join the TTB family today and experience a rare passion for performance, a passion for quality service delivery, and a passion for perfection. TTB, passionate solutions.
Count on the Trust Bank. You gotta know it. It's electric. That you can't hold it. It's electric. But you know it's there. Here and there and everywhere.
Do you know what these buildings have in common? Tropical cable, Topapa Preco.
It's electric. That you can't hold it. It's electric.
Labadi Beach Hotel, Ghana's finest.
A comprehensive housing policy could take 20 years to implement and must, by its nature, transcend political parties. Government after government has to implement it. But that's not what's happened here, says Asare Kufu, HFC Bank.
In the developing world, there's a lot of pressure on government to deliver. And governments wants to have monuments, something that they can point to, that we did this, we put up this number of housing units, and so on. Okay, so they will want to come into office and give contracts and say that this is our project. Okay, but that doesn't really work.
Many programs have been put together for affordable housing or mass housing in this country. Many programs. Look at the houses at Kanda Estate. They have from terrace homes, 2-bedroom, 3-bedroom homes, and they have 3-story, 2-bedroom flats. They're supposed to continue. So what happened? Each regime comes with a better idea, and a better idea never starts. You change the head of the place, and everything changes. The man comes and says, oh, this one is wrong, I can do better. That's the problem. There's no continuity. Nobody is there to tell you this is what we're doing, so and so. And because of antagonism that comes with the change, everybody comes, you keep quiet. They will look watching you. What will you do? Yes. So if he knows, I don't know. So you say no, what do we do? Yes, sir. Go home. And nothing happens. If we had followed through the programs from that time through to today, we don't have a problem.
Here's the fact. Not a single national housing policy has made it through Parliament since 1983. Year after year, successive governments have stumbled from one draft policy to the next, and the current government is no exception. After 3 years in power, their policy too is still in draft form. Minister of Works and Housing, Alban Bagbin, has promised to address the housing deficit within the next 10 years. He agreed to an interview but cancelled at the last minute. So exactly how he plans to build 1.6 million houses remains something of a mystery. The only manifest indication of government intentions is the highly controversial deal with Korean company STX. At a cost of $10 billion, the company promises to build 200,000 houses. The project has been criticized by experts across board. Asare Kufu, HFC Bank.
Such approaches tend to be a one-off thing. And after that, you ask, when are we going to get the next STS? That is not what works in the medium to long term. What works is a system that enables more resources to come in, eventually enables the private sector to take up the mantle. That same amount of money that is going into building those houses, it could go into infrastructure and it could be leveraged 3-4 times more. So we could get a lot more from rechannel those resources.
So what is Ghana getting for its money? To secure the deal, government has agreed to supply the land and all the infrastructure, roads, electricity, water, everything free. Concessions local developers have been begging for years. On top of this, STX gets total tax exemption and a guarantee that government will buy all its houses.
Government has never done anything like that to any Ghanaian developer, not one.
And while local developers are being chastised for not providing affordable housing, The houses provided by STX, despite all the concessions, are going to cost upward of $50,000 apiece.
Government should partner with private developers, the same way that government has partnered with STX.
To return to the question, can developers bridge the housing gap? The answer is not clear. But one thing is certain, until the playing field is leveled, we'll never know.
Government and developers of Ghana are partners. We've got to see each other as partners. That's the only way that we can really solve this housing crisis. But if we see each other as adversaries, it's not going to work. A partnership can be very, very, very beneficial to both parties, and for the most part to the people of Ghana. Because remember here, that's who's really important. Not the developer, not DevTraco, not the Ministry of Housing and Works, but the ordinary people and citizens of Ghana are what's important.